Yeah.
Good evening, 6:30 on Tuesday, October 20th, and we are ready to start our work session. So, thank you, Myra. You want to do roll call for us?
Yes, Councilor Source,
Present.
Councilor Roden,
Present.
Councilor Guaver,
Present.
Mayor Schwartzer,
Here.
Councilor Martin Ellis,
Here.
Councilor Morton,
Here.
Councilor Ford. Here. Thank you.
We are, it's the movie show tonight. Yay.
Hi.
Hi.
Madam Mayor, members of council, thanks for taking time tonight to visit with your finance team on the proposed fee schedule. Want to make sure and introduce Amanda Carey, our new finance director again. And I'd like to introduce you to Chelsea Gardner, our newest accountant in the group. And Chelsea did most of the work on the report that's in front of you tonight. We know that you haven't had a chance to really look at this, so I'm not gonna read it to you, although I'm torn because I really want to. But, you know, my previous budget message experience has told me that that's not the best approach tonight. So we're gonna go through some highlights and we'll have an opportunity for you to ask questions, have some dialogue at the end. I'd like to get through the meat of the report before we start asking questions, if that's okay with y'all. So we prepared this report to the council addressing fees and charges across the city. We have given you a proposed fee schedule that's based on information obtained and your direction to us to look at cost recovery and revenue sources to the general fund when possible. Our recommendations have established cost recovery as a starting point. And then in some cases, we've proposed increased fees above that based on the comparables. We plan to bring this back with a resolution to the November 25 council meeting for action. Questions or input between now and then, we'd ask that you direct that to Kenna and she'll run it past us and we'll make whatever changes we need to make in order to bring it back in November. This is really meant to be a working document and provide y'all with a starting point, okay? We don't have any real pride in ownership here or authorship. We just know that it's much easier for you to look at something and go, I like that or I don't like that, than it is to try and start from scratch with a document like this. You can accept our recommendations, adjust them or dismiss them. And, you know, we'll, like I said, we'll make those changes and bring something back to you for action. So our approach for this was, again, much of the work was prepared by Chelsea. She did a lot of the comparables, a lot of the research, a lot of the calculations. I really just said, yeah, you did a good job. And now I get to take credit for it. Just kidding. So we did meet with the department heads. We established some time and effort estimates based on our conversations with them. And then we calculated some hourly rates based on salary benefits. We also took a look at some of the materials and services costs that go into operating those departments in an effort to come up with an hourly rate for cost recovery. We collected comparables as indicated in the report and compared them then to that cost of service baseline. Our approach was really to streamline, standardize, and condense the fee schedule wherever possible. You'll see as you thumb through it, it is Appendix 1 towards the back of the report. If you want to kind of pull that off to the side so you can reference it, there's a lot of stuff in there that's going away. And some of it's anecdotal, some of it's just funny. But at least some of it's, you know, we are going to be able to streamline this a bit. So the report, the body of the report really provides some summary information in support of the recommendations that we made. And though that support begins on page 2 where we address administrative fees, just again, this is kind of a high level summary. The administrative fees were just all over the place, to be honest. Across departments, we had one department charging X for copies, we had another department charging Y, another department charging Z, and there was really no explanation for why. So we tried to bring some consistency to it to reduce the administrative kind of burden of figuring out what we should be charging, as well as reduce confusion on the part of our community. See, yes, community. Making points over your left and right. Moving on to page 3, we address business licensing, and I understand this will be one of those areas we'll want to come back to. But before we kind of get into the details, let's talk just a little bit about how we approach this. We're recommending that we do away with this multi-tier approach where we have some specific types of businesses that pay a business license fee based on the kind of business they are. Then if you're not required to have a business license in one of those tiers, you do a business registration, just so we know you're out there, and that's a whole different fee. And it's kind of cumbersome. There's a lot of kind of administrative lifting that goes into maintaining that, to the point where it really hasn't been well maintained for years. Our recommendation is to simplify that with a single fee that is applicable to businesses operating within the city limits, including our recommendation again, home-based businesses and operating rentals. Because we believe that that meets the definition of a business. We'll need to redefine the term business as it's applicable in our code. Really, regardless of which way we go, that needs. So we're really looking for 2 things from the council upon passage of this resolution. We're going to need that definition of a business, and we'll need the fee amount. Okay.
Do you want questions at the end, or do you want?
Yeah, I was gonna try
Okay.
and, if we can, because I know this is a spot where we're gonna come back to. Thank you. We also have an application within this to marijuana-based businesses. We're suggesting that we just treat those like any other business in town at this point. We really couldn't find any definitive reason for why they were called out separately with a different set of fees attached to them. Currently, Chelsea tells me there are 622 identified businesses in Independence. The Secretary of State's website shows something like 1,000.
But they're not all current.
Right, we were unable to verify a lot of those, so we have 622 that we feel pretty good about right now. At $100 a year, that's $62,000. We're unable to currently identify the number of home-based businesses in Independence. We don't have that information. Oh, you have that information. Okay, well, that's a resource that we can use then.
I've collected that for a long time
Okay,
because of downtown associated.
oh, that's a great resource then. We simply don't have that information in our database. We were looking to build that as we go. So we'll be able to make note of that. Thank you. So knowing we're gonna come back to business licensing, let me kind of continue on through the report. Pages 3 and 4, we look at planning fees. Kind of the message here is that our fees are well below both the median and the averages of all of our comparables. The median being that true midpoint, and the average really is affected by the highs and lows of our comps. In most cases, we're not covering our costs with our planning fees. We have provided you some scenarios based on some assumptions that we made. Those are in appendices 2 through 5. many of the adjustments that we're proposing in planning fees as well as some of the other fees are a big percentage change, but they're really small dollars. Page 4, we look at building fees. There's really just a minor change here to sign permit fees. Most of the building inspection fees are set by statute. The sign permit fees are ones that we set. And we're proposing a change based on some specific input from the building official. Page 5, we have public works fees, where that whole discussion is comprised of just pulling the utility rates and utility SDCs out of this fee resolution, because they're addressed in different resolutions that come before council as part of the master planning and that rate setting process that we go through. And then finally, police department fees. We approach those on a baseline of cost recovery and incentive for compliance after talking with the chief and some of the staff. Again, appendix 1 is our proposed fee schedule. 2 through 5 are those scenarios with planning fees. So depending on the outcome of this on the 25th, we'll likely be bringing back some follow-up actions in the form of code amendments to try and align the code with the fee schedule. Things like taking out the permit requirements and the fees related to maintenance of backyard chickens. My favorite example. Actually, my favorite example is the cigarette vending machines. The business licensing will obviously need to be modified in the code, and then the marijuana-based businesses. Those are the kind of the front center examples. So with that, I would turn it over to y'all for discussion and questions, and we'll do our best to try and answer whatever questions you have. If we can't answer it, we'll make a note, get back to you.
Regarding the business registration fees, I mean, I feel it's kind of under the Secretary of State. Is there any way that instead of doing a business registration fee, we just have people give us their Secretary of State registration number? Do we have it?
And then to what end?
Well, why do we need a separate business registration independence when they're already registered with the state?
Well, and that's what we're looking to do away with, is the business registration. We're looking at business licensing as 1, for informational purposes, and 2, for regulation, and 3, as a revenue source.
Okay.
I
what
mean, to be
was-
just honest,
What I heard is if you don't need a business license, you need to. do a
that's
business
current,
registration.
that's the
Sorry,
current
sorry.
process, yeah,
Do
sorry.
we actually issue business licenses right now?
We haven't,
Not
people
ever, as
file
far
a
as I
form.
know.
It's actually in our code that we're supposed to give them a certificate that's to be displayed prominently in their place of business.
And it may have been at one time, but
It
in my
has not.
memory, we've never had that.
Yeah, it has not. We plan to do that. We're actually, if we begin to use the system that we have, Cassell, there's a whole business licensing module that will actually print the certificates for us, and I don't know why we haven't used it.
And I mentioned earlier, I work with the Downtown Association, as from the perspective of a business, I'd like to know what they get for paying an extra either $100 if they haven't registered, or $75 if they have. What's the difference in the benefit to the business? Because those of us who are out dealing with this are gonna be getting lots of questions.
Sure,
And we'd like to be able to say, well, for your dollar, now you'll be receiving.
yeah, and if I can just be candid, I've worked with a number of clients and cities, and there is arguably little benefit to the business. It's a compliance situation.
So I know the license was sold, the business registration was sold on the basis of, we have your emergency contact number now, if something were to come up.
And Kenna mentioned, or sorry, City Manager West explained that at the last meeting, and I can see that being a benefit.
Yes,
And we did use it in my prior city when COVID hit. That was my main avenue to contact my businesses, was their email address.
right.
That's how I put them in We started a weekly email that they looked for from me that indicated all of the grants that became available, what they needed to do to get those grants, any avenues that they had, new information from the governor's office on what would be done. Hopefully we never have that situation again. However,
But it would be a great way to get them on a mailing list for like if there was a grant coming down for some other reason, that they'd know soonest so they could apply right away.
That counts for
And just in my experience, that's a unique opportunity.
But this is an opportunity to engage our businesses and what's going on in council too.
Mhm.
Just for my education, the red on this is the newly added ones.
It's things that have changed.
Okay.
There is a legend at the far bottom of that. We had to
And-
move it down so it was readable.
What is the penalty if some business, like a home business who sells stuff on eBay, and they're registered as either a doing business as or an LLC, what's the penalty if they don't get a license? That needs to be addressed
That needs
too.
to be addressed as well.
Well, yeah, I think there's several people waiting to,
Sorry,
speak. So a couple of items of feedback, obviously, full disclosure, I have a business downtown, business owner, do a lot with businesses. I do think we need to be conscientious of the fee that we charge, so hopefully technically people. The majority of the time should be registered with the state. So if we have people that aren't. Could be problematic, not that we ever wanna be hesitant with that, but it's an opportunity to educate people about getting licensed and having a properly running business. So I think that fee is around $100 to $150 a year to register your business with the state. I think there is value to having a local fee or registration for grants, if we are proactive about there getting some sort of value to it, about even updates to sign codes, because I get feedback from business owners that are like, how would I know what the sign code is? Unless I go to the city and ask, which frankly, a lot of business owners, that's not on their radar screen, so having a welcome to town. Here's some things you need to keep in mind, I think from a health and safety standpoint, fire, police access, all of that, I think it's really beneficial. Finding the home-based businesses is always fun. And then getting them to comply is probably even harder. I don't think it's unusual to have a home-based business registry. We did use it, I do remember paying it when it first got implemented, I think it was right before COVID, and then we stopped it because.
I know my daughter paid when it Tiger.
Yeah. So I do think it can be a really positive thing, but I think explaining that value to the business owners is important. Sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm gonna jump to something else and come back to the business licensing fee. Can you talk a little bit about comp communities, because some of the communities you compared us to are over 20 times larger than ours,
And- Sure.
so I have some concern around, I get they're next to us, but like. It seems to me that communities like Gladstone, Prineville, Ontario, Newport are within our population. And that makes more sense to me because when you're comparing us to Salem, they have economies of scale that we never have. So like therapies can be cheaper because they have more. And they don't even have a licensing fee, so we don't even compare there, so there's that. And then going back to the business licensing fee. It's as simple as knowing how many businesses do certain things so that you can prepare law enforcement, fire to respond to certain things. So it's, I think the compliance part is super important there, as well as the Secretary of State's office. If you register with them, they have the business navigator.
Mhm.
You know, it used to be Ruth, you know,
Yep.
they were wonderful. And their whole job was to help businesses cut through red tape. We can model something like that, depending on what we do, and that could be the attractive part of it in-home. Business license fee is, hey, like you're running your business from your house, you clearly don't have an HR department, you clearly don't have it's like let the city be supportive in that. Through their connections and resources, so anyway, sorry,
No, you're fine. Again, don't apologize to us. We literally are just trying to give you a place to start. Just real quick to address the comps. It was a mix of kind of population size, and when it came to the business licensing that we actually cast a wider net than what's shown here. But we did choose Salem because of geographic proximity and their waterfront. And same with Albany, their proximity to the river, Corvallis, proximity to the river, because there were some things that we had in common that way. But yeah, your point's well made.
Okay, I agree with what other counselors have said, if the city's gonna impose these fees, cause I think that that's what it is, we're just trying to tax people more. Then we have to come up with what is staff going to commit to in order to give a benefit to these business owners. Are they gonna commit to a weekly newsletter like City Manager West did in a previous community during COVID? Are we gonna have a quarterly outreach? Are we gonna have resources available? We can't just say, oh, I would like to do this, or we should do this. We need to commit to it in writing, what we're gonna do if we're going to ask people to come up with $68,000 more in taxes. So if we're gonna go through that, I think we should have a commitment from the city that they're going to back our businesses up. Because we just can't take money from people with no return. Also, I'm concerned about how much staff time, because we're always told staff is short, we have no time on staff. How is staff gonna come up with the time to notify all these businesses about these, find all these businesses? It seems like a logistical mess. And of all the things that we're gonna be working for, are we really gonna ever get that $68,000 back in these fees that we're trying to tax these people who sell literally down at the market? I mean, I just don't see the benefit of doing this. Okay, I think I've made my point on that. Two other points I'd like to make real quick. It'd be great if there's a page number on every single page. Even in appendix one.
No, okay,
Cause then
fair enough.
then we can actually pinpoint where we're referencing in that,
Sorry about that.
two, I noticed throughout this whole thing that we removed the fees for black and white and colored copies because we are standardizing it. Is that what we did
Yes.
on page one of appendix one?
Yeah.
My concern with that, again, is a lot of people, 25 cents for black and white and 50 cents for color at the library, when people, that's their only source of printing, seems very, very high. And so
Actually, the library, I believe, was higher than that.
it was 10 cents. When I went there last, it was 10 cents for a copy.
I think they
It's
were
10 cents for black and white, but it was more for.
per our, yeah, so per the current fee schedule, it's $1 a page at the library.
That was for color, I think, though.
So, but I mean, I don't know how often people were, I can't remember the last time we made a copy for somebody at City Hall.
And I
I'm pretty
assume the
sure.
copies were based on the cost, so
Yeah,
that we're not subsidizing.
right.
We're basically covering our costs.
Right. For the job.
So would that cover staff time
Yeah.
also?
Well, the copy machine at the library that I've used for 10 cents a copy, you walk up and make your own copies yourself, and then you go pay the library. So it's.
So we lease the copier, we pay for the toner, we pay for the paper, we pay for the electrical. So when you're talking costs, it's not just personnel.
I'm just saying 10 cents probably covers it. I guess if it doesn't, then I'd like to see the data on that in the library, because I know that's their only source of printing. And so, I mean, and that's also, we doubled the fees on the page. We're doubling the fees for dog licenses. I'm really concerned about that. That just. Again, I don't see what the benefit is for the owner who has an animal that has to now pay double the amount for what gain do they get for that? I mean, I love owners who are responsible and take care of their animals, but they already have to go get, you know, the shots and fees and everything from their local veterinarian before they come here, and then they get a double fee for what? Why are we bumping that up so high? I'm concerned about that, because I feel like maybe people will avoid getting with Well, it's licensed in the first place if we thought that would be.
So again,
That's just my concern.
Again, cost recovery and,
There is a.
you know,
cost.
I'm gonna put you on the spot just a little bit. Can you tell me what Dane goes through every time there is a loose dog?
It's pretty time intensive. It's posting the animal, that's not even a work because he captures them, takes it to our kennel. That shares the,
Chief, I can't hear you.
I've already spoken too much today.
It's been a long meeting day.
It's been a long meeting day. So when Dane gets a call for animal at large, he goes out, tries to capture the dog, is successful most of the time. Does so, then shares that information with our front office staff, who then posts an image of that the animal on our social media. Once somebody, depending on how long it actually takes, so oftentimes it takes a day or two before somebody identifies the dog as theirs. And then they make an appointment with Dane to with our CSO to meet up at the kennels, where he then releases them. So in the meantime, he also cares for
But isn't that included in the impound fees? That has nothing to do with licensing our dog.
the licensing specifically would be our ability to then add that information, the owner's information, contact information, in our master dog licensing files, so that our officers can then make easier attempts at identifying and contacting the owner. And you're right, a part of the impound fees should cover some of that, but those, especially on the longer, instances in which it takes longer to identify the owner, $35 where it doesn't cover.
Right, and we've increased the impound fees as well as the boarding
Oh, I
fees.
see it. I see it on
But there is an administrative burden that goes along with the licensing process, and so we're just trying to
But as
recover
a
those
dog
costs.
owner, as a dog owner, and I'll stop my questions after this. If my dog got loose and you had to collect my dog and you took care of my dog, I would gladly pay the impounding fees for you to take care of my dog, because I failed as an owner at some point and you had to do that. But I would say 90+% of owners never have to go through that process. And so I don't know why we would penalize people with their dog licenses for people who never will experience losing a dog. Again, if I ever lose my dog, I would love to take care of it. I love my dog, but I don't want to be penalized for someone who repeatedly loses their animal.
I'm assuming a lot of these rates haven't been updated in
That's correct.
years, maybe
Years.
decades.
The
Yeah.
building fees were updated, we believe,
Yeah.
a couple of years ago. But everything else is, I mean, the last resolution was dated, I think, 22,
Yeah.
so.
When was the last time we
I-
updated the public dancing?
Oh, it's been a while, yeah, maybe the 1800s.
But I know associated with that dog license fee, I get 1, 2, 3 letter reminders, you know, I mean, that's paper time and effort right there. I mean, I'm gonna get my dog license before the fee goes out, but
Council Court, and everybody, we do have people with raising, so.
they raise money in.
Well, I've
Yeah,
been waiting
she's been very
since
quiet.
business
Yeah,
license
so-
fees. So my question is related to business license fees that we somehow moved on to dogs. Is income generated in any way considered in business licensing fees? So well, okay, so I'm thinking about a larger business, I don't know, Arena, Brew, something
Sure.
like that.
Oh, I see where you're.
You can absorb $100 a year or whatever, a whole lot easier than Counselor Roden's example. Somebody makes doilies at home and sells them at the farmer's market.
Sure, that's all at the discretion of council. We have comparables that did that, right? There are some that do that, sort of a sliding scale.
Right,
Again, the approach that we took with putting this together was first to just put something in front of you.
right, right.
And something as simple as possible with a single fee.
Well, even if it was home-based, fee store.
And there were some comparables that
Because-
had a fee for home-based businesses and
Right.
another fee for others.
Okay,
That's all up for.
so I guess
your-
I just want that on the table.
Sure.
Having in a previous life insured both types of businesses, there's a huge difference in premium.
Sure.
So for home based versus others.
If I may, remember, council, as you consider this, and again, as Rob said, we're not tied to anything. This is all for your consideration and adjustment. But do keep in mind that if you have a different, we're trying to simplify, because if you look at what we have now, the reason it's not happening is because it's too complex.
Right.
So if you make it too complex, we don't have the staff to do it, or we have to ask businesses, will you please give us your tax returns so that we know how much you make? They're not.
Well, and I guess that's why as I talked and thought that through, I'd really rather see like a home-based storefront kind of separation versus an income, I guess, type of separation, because not everybody is real forthcoming with about their actual.
No.
So,
Just one extra thing about that, and then my question, which is, perhaps we could look at size of business in terms of how much land it takes up or how many employees they have. Because it seems like a business license for the cabinet factory might be more internally cost heavy than a business for the freeze-dried coffee place or the candy place that's going out of business. My question is about staff time spent on making photocopies of public documents. I was listening last, even though I was at the beach, I'm sorry, I was listening to the council meeting a couple of weeks ago, and I believe I heard you say that in 1 month, there was about $5,000 in staff time, or several thousand.
So that covered both grievances and public records requests.
Okay,
And that was staff time, attorney time, and documents.
okay, so in terms of staff time on making photocopies or producing and sending out photocopies to public requests.
That's it. So I want to be clear, the public records requests are handled outside of this. There's a statutory
Okay.
kind of thing in place there that it's not addressed in this fee resolution. for
Okay,
public
so
records
that then is something that will come to us to show the nuts and bolts of that particular
No,
bookkeeping?
that's completely separate.
Okay, so this is just for the random public requests for public records that come in.
Request for copying of documents.
Yes,
Let's rephrase it, because public
Okay,
records is a,
because public
It says
records
public
should be,
record.
many of them should be available online.
many
Correct.
are,
Okay,
many are.
all right, then I withdraw that question. Bill was next year.
I would just kind of wanted to, go off on what Councilor Roden said. I mean, if it has no teeth, then it's not worth doing, right? And if we don't have the staff to do it, then it's not worth doing, but at the risk of shooting my own self in the foot, I'm not registered as a business. I'm not paying an annual business license for my Greenwood Group real estate company over here down across the street. But I'm an individual real estate agent, and so is like your wife, right? She works for a company, right? But she has another job, does she not? You know, so it's kind of a side hustle or, you know, kind of the dough thing.
Currently,
So-
home-based businesses are excluded from the business
Okay.
license requirements in the code. So you're not out of compliance.
Well, I mean, I do have an office, so,
Well-
you know, so I am a business. I'm, you know, my wife, if you ask my wife, she'd be like, damn right, I got a business. Yeah. So
but you're registered with the state, right?
I'm registered with the state because I have an S corp.
Right.
But some people are just real estate agents and they live at home and they, you know what I'm saying? And I have a real estate agent, so I'm a business, but you know, I get what you
I understand the challenge with how do we make this data? It's not burdensome. Because we do the same thing with IndiaDMS, right, of trying to track, right, we wanna get information out to businesses, and how do we do that, how do we collect that data? The state database has been our best source of being able to do that. A little bit clunky, but let's figure it out, and you can set a tag so that anytime a new business registers, you can download just those new businesses for that month, so. But I am a fan of making it easy, and that's why I understand just having the flat rate, or if there's a. Cause I think then you get into the self-reported, like, how many employees do you have, how much income do you have, and people figure that out pretty quickly, if they're like, I've got like two. So. From that standpoint, I can understand it's much easier just to have a flat rate. But then it's true, like Cabot Works versus Southern-based business. There's different abilities to maybe pay. But one of the things that we counsel people on quite a bit is there are the cost to you having a business. And that is part of it that you need to factor in so that you're a sustainable business. I do think that there's collaboration that could happen with whether it's chamber, IDA, nonprofits in the area that are already kind of documenting and gathering that data, of being able to help supply some of that, to take some of the burden off of maybe staff, but again, that takes a commitment from everybody in that. And sometimes feel a little bit loose, maybe it's a monthly newsletter that goes out that people can not.
Yeah, we've made a note of that. Thank you.
Yeah, I have deep concerns about having more than one rate. I get the attractiveness of charging some businesses more, but I don't think that's equitable. And I also think there's a really solid argument not to charge a licensing fee for a home-based business because consumers probably aren't going into people's homes. And so I think that limits, from my perspective, the government's ability to say, oh, you're a business that people are going into, and therefore we have
Be charged
we have more of a an interest in making sure that you're compliant, that it's a safe space for people to do business in, right? So I think we should really think about that. I see both sides, but I just, if you're not going into the business, maybe that's less of an interest. Someone who has a space that people are accessing to trading goods.
Are we only talking about commercial businesses? What about nonprofits?
Currently, not-for-profits are excluded here, and again, it's your call.
But they're.
You do have to register with the state though.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, based on what they are included in this, nonprofits would be included in this now.
So
Potentially, but
That's how I interpret it.
yeah, potentially or not. Again,
Technically, they are a business, according to the state.
Secretary of State
Register with
thinks so.
the state, yeah.
I have another thing to I forgot to mention too, but what about something like the Airbnb, like you and I discussed, you know, either you hire somebody to find out all the Airbnbs in town, you know, or they do or do not pay that, you know, that transient tax, but there's also, are they a business too, you know?
we're treating them as businesses in this proposal.
yeah,
It goes back to that self-reporting thing, so.
the other thing that we have to be mindful of is asking a business association to do compliance work for us. Because that could potentially, and I'm not saying that you said that, Mary, but we don't wanna put a business advocacy group
Sure.
in a situation where all of a sudden they're collecting compliance issues for the government, because that will create a really quick cooling of that relationship.
I'm thinking more in terms of sharing resources.
Yeah.
Grant available or something that's classically available. So I do see the value, right, especially if we have a focus on economic development. How do we engage our business community better and making sure that they know that there's resources and grants and whatever else that are out there? Not, again, not from the heavy-handed, we wanna punish you, but from an encouragement of helping them grow and sustain their business, so. I mean, that's the lens that I look at it.
We could make some flyers to say, with the government, we're here to help.
All Rob moved.
My concern is we already do a very poor job with downtown businesses. I mean, they don't stay up to like an 18-month to 24-month opening rate. We already have some businesses that I really want to stay open. If we could focus on the downtown and businesses that have a storefront, I think we should leave home businesses alone and, you know, home realtors alone. You know, those types of people alone. I just think we should just leave all them alone, focus on storefront businesses and not home-based businesses in my.
I guess I'm curious about the correlation between how we deal towards jobs. Like, how is that this?
I was just taking what you said about providing economic development for businesses. If we're gonna provide education, resources, grants, opportunities to businesses through our advocacy, through our education, through our programs, then we should focus on downtown businesses to make them successful and start. We don't need to use that on home-based businesses that. Another example, they make delicious pickles down at the farmer's market, but that's their only extra income they make is selling these pickles. And if they stop selling pickles because of some of the, be a little bummed out.
Very good.
They're great pickles. So I'm just thinking of the little people who can't really afford this. And if we're in a city and we have limited resources, limited time, let's focus on making our downtown, I mean, it is very beautiful. It's very lovely. If we could focus on that, I think that would be a great use of our time instead of going after the countries.
I will point out, Counselor, that the commercial based home kitchens already do pay fees to the state. I'm sure to the county as well, because I think they're the health.
Through the state there, so it's Harvard Event.
So I mean,
They already do pay. So again, this is an example, they have to pay fines.
uh,
And it's for what benefit from independent?
Well, with the $62,000, we could get a part-time downtown manager again and help the downtown. We did not fill that position because we didn't have a.
Is that our goal then?
I'm just saying, this is for you guys to decide. You had indicated we need to do some more downtown. Well, with that money, we could do more downtown.
I'm willing to work hard to find money within our budget to help our.
There is.
Is that in this
Well-
report about downtown manager and raising funds?
No.
Okay.
No, that just came up, because Councilor Roden was focusing on the downtown.
Okay.
And this is all you guys, right?
Mhm.
And so that just came up, that if that's a focus, that's where you could ask the money to go.
Well, we could get rid of Christmas lights and come up with that much money, right?
I don't know, you could do,
Our
whatever
Christmas
you want.
lights are $50,000.
no,
Is
I
that
don't
not in our
think,
budget? How much do we pay to Christmas guys?
not that, nearly that much, I don't believe.
is that
Christmas-
transit logic tax money or stuff?
Hard, yeah.
Yes.
The Christmas wreaths and the lights that are downtown are provided by the Downtown Association.
I'm talking about Christmas guys.
Down in the-
And so are the glow lights that we have.
Oh, yeah.
I know it's in the budget, I'm sure, I can do that.
So we've made lots of notes and
But we
You know,
need a little direction
well,
before November.
it'd be great to get a little direction tonight, and I think we have a little.
Like, do you
but-
want us to focus on separating?
This so I have. a
I mean, we have to be careful not to make decisions tonight because this is a work session.
Right,
Just
But-
on this too, so if we can have some time to really dive in.
Sure, and that's
You
what
do.
we indicated is if you have input as an individual, please don't be talking about this like in those public meeting things, it gets us all in trouble. But if you can give input to City Manager West over the next week or so, then we can incorporate that and bring hopefully back something at that November 25 meeting that you can feel good about taking action. Council,
so I would love to see some information about escalating fees for repeat issues, so. For example, I know based on social media communications, there are certain dogs that are habitual escapees.
so we got.
And some of them are in my neighborhood.
Keeps being quiet over there.
And I would love to see what the data would look like on. Like, to Councilor Roden's point. Good dog, well, I shouldn't say good and bad, because it could just be an escape artist thing, but. People who don't perpetually have their dogs loose should not pay for the sins of people whose dogs consistently loose. So that there's data that shows that there's a problem. That we can really focus on with escalating fee costs, it might be a worthwhile consider.
And I understand what you're saying now. We did propose some not insignificant increases in the impound fees and the boarding fees. Both with an eye to cost recovery and incenting compliance as opposed to, I don't, yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to shut you down there.
No, I hear what you're saying, I'm just trying to find.
But I can see the wisdom in repeat offenders being dinged for renewal of license and things like that.
Well,
Because there clearly is no there's no reforming the dog.
But you wanna, I think Counselor Roden has a point around. Dog license is a perfect example of like. It's a thing that we all know we have to do, but like the likelihood you get caught not doing it is so low, there are people who don't do it. And if you create-
Until that dog gets out.
Until that dog gets out, then you pay a large fee, I get that, but. We wanna incentivize the right behavior,
Yeah.
which is making, from my perspective, licensing fees cheaper and boarding fees more expensive. Because that then incentivizes the behavior of knowing, we wanna know how many dogs are in our community.
Yeah, because licensing undoubtedly helps them police locate a dog if they've got the tag on.
We don't want it to be a barrier to registration, so I think there's a point there, so if we could find other ways to. Really kind of discourage that behavior, and that's just an example of throughout our fee code, if there's things that. We know are repeat offenders, if there's ways to escalate that cost that doesn't punish. People just trying to reserve the park, for example, or whatever.
And you see that with the alarm fees as well.
Great,
at least
thank you.
equipment.
It is, I mean. For the dog licensing, I mean, it's. If we're voting for $10 for a year for $20 a year, it's still a fairly,
Yeah, sure.
it's not a.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we said the percentage was huge, 100%, but it's relatively small dollars. I think I paid $50 to license my dog.
It is, but coming from a perspective of someone who doesn't make a lot of money. Once you go, like I said earlier, once you go through the whole the vet process to get your dog spayed and neutered and dogs, all the things that you have to do to take care of the dog, and then. I get my letter and I come right down to pay it if I want. I had my dog, you want to do the right thing,
Understood.
so.
Some.
Why don't
Some,
we register cats?
so that's a whole debate, that's a whole.
Let's
Let's not go down that road.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll add a whole cat section. Where's the crazy cat lady?
There's some vicious cats.
Kids, so.
The chief is really.
Produced feral children.
I mean, literally hurt cats.
Another,
Just
Oh, I'm
resigned.
just saying, please. We'll never get a code enforcement officer if he has to wrangle cats.
some of the larger communities, and sorry, I didn't see it in here, so if it's in here, I apologize, but they provide a service for people who are gone for a certain amount of time, to do some checks on homes for fees. Is that something that we could consider, for if people wanna pay the police department a couple $100 to check their house a couple times? Is that something you can do for?
But then we could sue the police department if our house got robbed, right?
And I don't know,
I don't know,
and I'm not so sure that a couple $100, Counselor, would even,
Yeah.
it won't even cover an hour of my police time.
okay.
When you figure all.
I'm just trying to think of.
I know,
ways-
and I love it, I don't, that's it.
I had a question
When we
about
figure cars.
collectability. When dogs are impounded.
Mhm.
They have to pay, I mean, not they, the dog, the owner has to pay the impound fee before they could get out.
I believe that's the case.
Just sorry, say that.
In order to release the dog, they have to.
They
get
have,
the
so
impound
you
So
get
it's like bail.
100% receipt. Or the dog goes away permanently,
We thankfully haven't come up.
okay,
With that issue, but no, they tend to find a way to get it $35 or.
so you basically, the dog is collateral until the fee is paid.
How much the dogs were.
Dogs, yeah, they don't get released until the fee is paid.
Okay.
I mean, based on the Facebook community pages, we could be killing off the wayward chickens.
I'm sorry, no, my police don't have to wrangle chickens either.
I called in some loose
Yeah.
chickens one time and I think I got the code enforcement officer on the phone at the time, and she said, what? I said, there's chickens running all down B Street.
Oh, yeah, Chief, you had something to say?
If it's okay, because it got brought up, I
Yeah.
can clarify that we do provide vacation house checks as a service. It's not for a fee, and I don't know if that would then incur liability. We did start charging for it, but just so you know, it is,
Oh, so you mean-
it's available.
Is it just a drive-by, chief?
That's actually something that we are trying to better define internally as well, because it's very over time.
You do Caval's.
We do not. That's gas. But yeah, it depends on ultimately what the owner desires. So do we go into the backyard? Do we just do a drive-by? We're still trying to sort that out. Okay.
Thank you.
So can we have a week to get back to you on this?
No, November 20th.
Yep. Well-
No, November 25th is when it will come to you.
Yeah, but she asked if she could have a week, because it's gotta go in the packet.
Oh, you can have more than a week, Counselor.
Okay, I just want, well, I thought if we all
Yeah,
agreed on a
what's the
day.
realistic deadline for us to get
Yeah.
copies back?
Myra, what's our deadline?
How long will it take you to prepare whatever they give you? Just, I have to put it in there a week before the meeting, so you're gonna need time to prepare it as well, so.
We'll need a day to
So let's say
accumulate everything.
So Myra has
So
to,
you got about a week.
no,
About 10 days.
because the Myra needs it on the 19th. And so that would be the 14th, would be the Friday before. So if they had it to us by the 13th, that would give you. a couple
Oh, that's
days.
right. I'm sorry. I was thinking that we only had 2 weeks to the next meeting.
No,
It's a month.
yeah,
My bad.
Yeah.
I was totally thinking 2 weeks.
no, so you have plenty of time, so if you want the 13th.
November 13th.
Mhm.
close
End of,
business?
end of business day,
So
yeah.
we are
Thank
meeting
you.
days.
We're not, oh, I know, we are.
Yeah, because it's like 3 days before.
Yeah.
And then it'll come back to us with
Make it-
comments and everything in it, and we'll talk about it.
Have the council making decisions,
Okay.
right, and
There'll be
so,
a staff
I
report.
don't know if we would have meant 2 days before Christmas, just,
no, that's Thanksgiving,
I know.
okay.
I know where that came from.
No, and my comment was yes, because it's 2 days before.
But we usually don't have a city council meeting. The last few years, we have.
Yes, but
But
unfortunately,
because of Veterans Day.
Yeah,
I understand.
Yeah,
But-
right.
Gotcha.
Okay, so. I'm good with a second vote.
Great. Any other questions or conversation
Are we
around?
directing comments to you then?
yes, sir.
Please.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And if there's any direction now that you're comfortable giving us so they can start on it. It does sound like we're gonna be looking at bifurcated fees, so we might try to take a look at some of those.
Should be attorney words with me.
I'm sorry.
I think
Ask-
I'm gonna put forth everything that I've just said in this meeting in an email, just so it's written down. So, but those are all of my concerns, and I assume everybody else's concerns are the same, what they've said thus far, without diving in. Like we need to.
Can I ask one more question after seeing something? So I see that we break it down, like reserving at the amphitheater based on the size of attendance. What happens if I just say, oh, I'm gonna pay for a 300 person attendance reservation and it's over $1,000?
I don't know.
It is hard to guesstimate sometimes.
Yeah,
what
and it's a pretty big difference
size of
there. Right.
event is, yeah.
So I think those are the things that we gotta, I guess, council gotta really
Define.
think about. Does it make sense for us to do it based on attendance where it's just maybe putting people in a hard situation to guesstimate or create space for them to just, as a little bit.
And my understanding is some of that is driven by adding more like porta potties, like making sure you have the infrastructure set up, for like, there's a big difference between 50 people showing up and.
And that totally makes sense.
Yes.
That's why I guess I asked if there's like
Yeah.
a fee or an escalator you get caught doing it. So I mean, we're gonna have, see, chances are if there's 1,000 people in the park, we're gonna have someone from the city there, right, you know? It's just chances are. So, maybe that's also something that we could, that staff can consider, is if there's not like escalators or fees or fines.
So you're looking for
Bring us
some kind of consequences.
I would love to see some consequences if we're gonna make our community pay more fees for doing the right thing. There should be consequences for doing wrong.
I agree.
So we
But
could.
enforcement is a
increase-
challenge, I hear you.
We could increase maybe the deposit, like,
Mhm.
we can increase the deposit.
Yeah.
And then hold the deposit, and then if there's a violation, not return it, see what I'm saying?
Some of it's like the garbage pickup,
And
Would that be a comfortable?
I'm
Way to
comfortable, with that.
go.
I just I want the community here, and sorry, Councilor Roden is here again, but I want the community to hear, look, we're asking everyone to pay a little more, but there's gonna be. We're doing this to improve our community, and there'll be consequences for people who don't do it, because I hear the frustration of. I feel like I do the right thing, I pay the fees, I pay the licenses, and then I see people get away with it not doing it, because. We struggle with enforcement, we're a tiny community, you know? And so. If we're gonna actually charge, like, this is kind of some real money here. $600 for, you know, a reservation if you have 1,000 people. I'd love to see some consequences of people if they don't do the right.
I was just gonna say, if we have questions on specific pages, can we label the pages starting page 8 on appendix 1 and reference the page number, or is that not helpful in you finding it?
There's no other way to identify where you are, so.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have it.
So.
Yeah.
So Counselor Source, just real quickly, in the fee schedule, just to be clear, the under park use up there at the top in the red is what we're proposing, and there is half upfront refundable deposit. The escalated part down there below is what we propose to remove for administrative purpose, but I see, I hear what you're saying, so again, just be aware. And you'll have more time to go through this and, yeah.
I guess it would be helpful to know. And I know I put in a lot of work on you on this, but know what those costs are for those escalators. So like, how much does it cost the city to actually have an escalator? Escalating costs and like do the work behind the scenes? Because like, I think that would help us make a decision of if the juice is for.
I mean, anytime you're doing anything other than a flat fee, it means somebody has to monitor it, right?
You don't have software that just does that for you and spits it out?
No,
I don't know what kind of cameras
Put
we
the camera
got.
at the amphitheater and guesstimate how many people.
Well, guesstimate speed.
That's true.
Yeah, I think with some of the old, well, I guess some of the events, it's hard, like if you get like a Cycle Oregon event, they know how many registrants they typically get that are there for the bike race, and then they can estimate. They've done it enough, but you get like a brand new one, and it's like, this is gonna be over 5 or 6 hours. And people are coming and going, it's not always 500 people at once, it's like 50 people, 75, so I don't, yeah, it makes it challenging on both sides.
Sure.
Like trying to estimate, especially like a brand new event, or even like Hop and Heritage. It's kind of like, I don't know, how many people is it gonna rain? If it rains, not this many people, if it doesn't rain, more people, but. I do think it's really important to consider impacts with trash and restrooms and parking and that sort of thing.
I think part of this exercise is people don't know that there's a fee schedule in the first place. I mean, developers certainly know, you know, there's some people who are in the know. But coming out of this next meeting on the 25th, we're going to, I hope, advertise this quite heavily so people know what the fees are in town and what it's gonna cost them. Because I mean, I only know there's a dog license fee because I get a letter in the mail. I mean, otherwise, I don't have a skate artist either though, but you know. I don't know a lot of these fees. I'm kind of shocked at some of the categories. Well, not shocked, but surprised at some of the categories.
And I do think that's one of the big things we hear from owners, like business owners, when we're talking to them about whatever the program is. They're putting up a new sign, they're putting out sidewalk signs, whatever it is, and we're like, hey, you need to check with the city. And they're kind of, really? Why would I need to check with the city? It's simple. Yeah, that sort of thing, so and that's why I go back to having, even if it's a nominal registration fee, I do think it's really valuable. And it could be pitched in a way that businesses need to understand that. They need to be a part of the community and get the communication and understand, and even if it's public safety and event management and all of that.
If I had a home business, I mean, I have a home business, but if I had something that I would like to draw more customers to. Getting my name on a list with the city to say that I'm a registered business would be a form of advertising.
And some of these home-based businesses, frankly, are more than our brick and mortar. So, yeah, not all home-based businesses are small.
No,
Well, it could also create,
Oh, I was just gonna say real quickly, Counselor Roden, would you feel better if we all agreed to take this as we received it, number the pages 1 through 7, so that they could be referenced by page number?
Well, I started mine, because 1 through 7 are already labeled, I started appendix 1 on page 8 and started.
Okay,
One that.
I just want us all to be in agreement and how that gets labeled.
Thank you.
So we're gonna start with page.
I had before I was a counselor, I had a really nasty wasp out of one of the trees in the green space. And was like, is there like a list of people who do this in the community, cause I would love to support a local business, and I called the city. And Gerald's like, I don't think so, and I was like, well, shouldn't we have like a preferred vendor, and they're like, well, who are we to tell you?
Yeah,
right,
who the vendor is?
right.
But it's like, is there a list of people who live in Independence who does this?
See, I
Right,
would
and
think
that's
to call
kind
the
of-
chamber on something.
Sure. I didn't
But-
think, I should have,
but then you're only gonna
but I
get.
knew that, but I didn't.
I wasn't trying to call you out there though,
But this is a way to be like, oh, I can look on the city's website, here's all the registered businesses. Is there someone who does this kind of work, and I can do my own research on that person and say, oh, great, this person has 10 really positive reviews, they live in Independence, I'm gonna do business with them.
There's another benefit to us tracking the businesses and being able to categorize them by industry, because then from an economic development grant.
correct.
And then we have some level of that from the county. We might drill down a little bit in the city, but having more specific data is incredibly important.
I thought of another question, and then I'll be done. What if a business is in like Buena Vista, makes their product, comes into the farmer's market to sell their product? Are they considered an independent business? So they wouldn't have to pay.
It's where their
the
business is based. It's just where they're based. So we can't, as a jurisdiction, really can't.
I think that's correct.
Yeah, cause arguably they sell at multiple farmers markets.
Yeah.
And
Not
the
just
farmer's
here.
market
Here.
Yeah, they're paying a fee already, yeah, I think that's good, but. Okay.
Really good conversation.
We don't wanna stop the conversation, so I hope you're not feeling that.
No,
We want you to keep,
All night.
I think we.
Yeah, I don't know where to go.
we're here for you, so.
Yeah, I would love to have some time to just kind of dive into this.
I wanna thank Chelsea for whatever she
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Welcome, Chelsea.
She did a great job, and there, a lot of work goes into putting this together for you all to have the conversation, and we hope that it's helpful.
Very much so. Thank you for not running away.
And you're for 3 months, so.
Not planning on going.
Good.
We like her.
Are you from, who did we hear that?
Yep.
Yeah, I just graduated this year.
Nice.
Master's.
I was gonna say, you look very familiar, so I'm sure I've seen you around.
So Chelsea started as an intern.
Yeah.
And she was so incredible that we brought her on for the duration position. And she's backfilling incredibly. So, yeah, we're very lucky.
Rob has been bragging about you.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm taking credit for this one.
We won't mention the other ones.
All right.
With that, I think we can adjourn the meeting.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you, council. I will watch for your emails.